Hey guys, what's up? It's Rygar the Destroyer, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Best Buy exclusive IG-11 figure from the Star Wars Black Series. Now this guy is really cool, but before we take a closer look at him, let's go ahead and take a look at his packaging. So here it is, pretty standard for what we've seen out of the Black Series. Nice big window here on the front to show off the figure, as well as a nice image of the character down here in the corner. Flipping it over onto the back, you can see that same image is repeated again, as well as a brief description. And of course, if you'd like to read that, you can go ahead and just pause the video. So anyway, like I said, pretty standard stuff, so let's go ahead and get back to the figure itself here. Now, IG-11 stands at, let's see, about 6.5 inches tall. So he is taller than your average Black Series figure, but he is still in scale, which is really cool to get a little bit of variety on the shelf. So I really like that a lot. As far as his accessories go, the first one here is his blaster rifle. Very nicely sculpted and painted. I really like the dry brush on there. Really pulls out all of the detail that Hasbro's put in here. One other thing to mention is that there's a hole on the bottom, which allows you to peg it in into his hands here. As you can see, there's this little peg right here, and you can place this in here so that, you know, he can actually hold these. Because, you know, if not, there's no way that he's going to hold these with his little claw hands. The next accessory, same type of deal, another blaster rifle here. Again, very nicely dry brushed and sculpted. And again, it has that little peg hole, which allows you to place it into his hand here. As you can see, there's the peg. One other thing that is worth mentioning is that you can place this one here on his back, just like that. Looks pretty cool, and you could probably get the other one in there if you tried hard enough, but I think it is intended for this one here, which I definitely like. As far as articulation on this figure goes, it's basically the exact same as the IG-88 that we had before, so there are some limitations, but overall I think it's a pretty good figure. So let's go ahead and run through it here. There is a swivel at the base of the neck, which allows the head to swivel 360. Then he's got ball hinges here at the shoulder, nice range of motion there, and then there's a swivel with a covered joint here, which allows the arm to swivel 360 without showing off the ball joint that's in there, but still giving really nice articulation, which I do like. At the elbows, he's got a little rubber boot that sits over I think it's a ball hinge. It's hard to tell with the cover, but that allows them to hide the articulation at the elbow there, and it does also have a swivel. There's no articulation at the wrist or anything. Coming back to the body, he has a hinge here, which is basically like an ab crunch, but it's just higher up on his chest. And then there is a swivel, so you can kind of swivel it back and forth. Not the greatest range of motion there, but honestly, I don't really think that you need it. You know, between all of the different joints, you can pretty much get him into any position that you want to, as long as it's from here up. Now, let's talk about the kind of limiting factor for this figure. At the hips here, he's just got swivels. So you don't get a lot of range of motion out of them to begin with. But then on this leg here, there's this little rubber hose, which kind of limits the articulation. Because if you're not careful, you can overextend this joint and it'll just rip this little piece in here. And it's glued in at both sides. So it's not like pegged in where it pops out. You know, you will actually rip it. On this side, not as bad. Definitely larger range of motion there. Moving on down, there is a swivel here below the hip. Nice range of motion there. Again, same kind of problem, this time on both legs, where this little hose here kind of gets in the way and you don't want to ruin them. Coming down to the knee, he has double jointed knees, and again, without these little hoses, he would be able to basically fold his leg all the way up to here. Unfortunately, with the hoses on there, it is much more difficult to pose. As you can see there, those start getting tight really quickly. So you can still pose him at the knees, just be very careful. It's one of those things where when you have it in your hand, it'll definitely make more sense, like you won't rip it. And then finally at the ankles here, he's got just a little swivel. So overall, the articulation is a little weird, although I can forgive them, you know, just because this character is kind of unusual looking. It is unfortunate that they didn't revise it for this second release, or I guess it'd be the third release of this body with the other two IG-88s. So definitely worth picking up. I think he's a really cool looking figure, just not the greatest in the world in my opinion. So if you have any comments or questions, please leave them down in the comment section below, and I guess I'll see you later.